You've got some pretty amazing short stories sitting on the digital shelf, collecting virtual dust, and you might be thinking to yourself, maybe I should put them up so that readers can buy them. Great idea, but who wants to read your story in a manuscript format or a plain PDF? Nobody I know. But the story's so beautiful. Well, let's make the PDF beautiful too. I'm going to show you how to make your story go from this to this so that you can put a beautiful digital story in the hands of your readers. It's time for another author side quest. Let's get it. First thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Canva. And I know a lot of people are thinking, well, Canva's great and all, but there's so much going on. I don't know how to use it, blah, blah, blah. Look, Canva's actually really, really simple. If you're not a graphic designer or an illustrator, it's a great option for you. I am an illustrator, I am a graphic designer, and I still use Canva because it has a lot of great tools for people who need to make things fast. And you can make yourself some templates that you can use over and over and over, especially if you got a lot of short stories that you want to sell. Let me show you. So first of all, you'll see that I've got a whole bunch of stories already in here, but what I'm going to do is we're going to start a brand new one. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the dimensions right. So when we create a new design, we're going to put the dimensions in right here. We actually want it to be in standard ebook format. The general rule of thumb is that we go 20.8 inches by 33.3 inches. Now this seems really big, I know, but it's going to make it look really good, really sharp on a lot of different devices. Okay, so we're going to create a new design. So this new design, I'm going to call it Playing in the Dirt 2. Even though Playing in the Dirt doesn't actually have a second story in its series because it's not a series. So now that we've got our dimensions proper, we want to get our cover set up. Now we have two options. We can either choose to utilize a template and work off of that, or we can make it all the way ourselves. I created it completely from scratch the first time around, but this time around we're going to create it a little bit different so that you can see the process. This time we're going to utilize a template. Let's call it Creepy. That's what we want. Ooh, yeah, there's lots of really, really creepy ones here. Ooh, this is good. Ooh, this one's, yikes, that one's sick. Actually, this one's kind of neat. And as you see, it brings in a whole bunch of different materials that are already in here, and we could work with something like that. Or you could scan through all these different templates over here on this side and find one that you really like. Okay, I really like this one. I think this one's really cool. It's got a cool composition for us, and I think it's a great place for us to start. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say Playing in the Dirt. And actually what we can do is we can utilize that to say dirt. And we can go Playing in the Dirt. And actually the isn't really fitting there, so we're gonna delete that. What we'll do is we'll duplicate this and we'll type the here. And what we can do with this is make it nice and small here. We can move this over here. Move this over here. Let's actually make this one smaller so that we get the proper fit here. And it actually moves it in the proper place. Boom. Playing in the Dirt. That's pretty cool, right? We can actually make this smaller. We can actually put this right in. One of the great features about Canva is you can group grab everything, so you can drag and grab, and then when you do it, you can actually move it to the very center of the page and it'll actually line everything up, and that's the center of that. So that's actually the very center of the page because you can follow the rulers and the guides, right? It's pretty cool. After you do that, you're gonna go down here. You wanna make sure, okay, well, it's my story for sure, so we wanna do Zias de Mati. That actually looks pretty cool. I think we could actually edit this image a little bit. What we can do is I want to change the warmth. I want it to go a little more orangey. Yeah, let's punch up the contrast. Yeah, that's starting to look really cool, right? I think we're on the right track. So what we're going to do is, I know what the story is about. So I know that in this story, I've got some really creepy things happening and I want to create a very creepy vibe for my reader. When I go to the pages, I want to make the pages look creepy. So right here, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna copy the image there and I'm actually gonna paste that down here. I'm on white now, so I'm not gonna be able to see that. So I need to change the colors of the letters. Bam, changed. Boom, changed. Boom, changed. Now, as I'm creating this, I really don't want to use a whole lot of colors in my document because a lot of people are going to want to read this on their e-readers, and a lot of the e-readers are not in color, they're in black and white. But for the sake of the cover, you want a really cool cover that's got some nice vibrant colors for when people do see it and when people do see it on your website. So it's something that you want to keep in mind. In the regular pages, you don't really need color. It's still going to look really cool when we're done. So now I'm going to drag this and drop it. I actually want to create a space where this is pretty prominent on this first page because the first page is really setting the tone for the rest of the pages. Now I've got some cool trees, I've got these cool lanterns here. What we could do is we can go to elements over here and we can actually find some trees. So let's find some trees. Not really what we're looking for. There's this tree's kind of cool. That could kind of create a cool effect. Maybe make this big, throw it over here. And one of the cool things that you can do with this is you can actually change the opacity for it, and then it'll be kind of in the background like that. So that actually looks pretty cool. We could probably even drop the opacity even further just to make sure that it pops right. And that looks pretty neat actually. Since we've got some creepy trees on the front page right here, we could actually roll with something like this down at the bottom. What we're doing here is we're trying to guide the reader through an experience. We want them to stay in the story, which is going to go in the middle here, but we want them to be immersed in it. We want to bring the opacity down to about 70 because black is pretty hard on the screen. We don't want our readers' eyes to be drawn away from the story, but we still want to be able to immerse them, so there's this healthy balance that we have to have. So we've got these cool trees, and actually there's a few other trees that are similar that we can utilize, and so we're gonna grab a couple of these. And we know that we changed the other one to opacity 70, so that's what we're gonna kind of roll with on this one too. I actually want to grab this one again, and a quick trick, you can actually flip it horizontally and it'll be hard to tell that it's the same image. And actually what we can do is we can actually make these trees a little smaller, and that'll really help so people won't be able to tell as easily that we use some of the same trees. Now we've got this kind of really cool vibe down here. We've got this dead tree up here. One of the other things we noticed in our picture is that we've got a street lamp. So let's find a street lamp. Okay, we got all sorts of cool street lamps. This one's kind of got like 2 lights. We can kind of grab whatever we want here. I think we kind of like this one, right? So what we could do with this one, we know that these trees are a little bit smaller, so let's move it over here. And even though it's black, it's a little thinner, so it's not going to show up as prominently. It's not going to really freak our readers out. It's not going to trick their brains to follow the pictures. There we go. Now we're actually looking pretty cool. We've got this really creepy kind of vibe down here with the street lamp. We actually brought the opacity of that down just a hair, like 76. So it's still a little darker than these. Our image up here is looking pretty cool. We could even find some like clouds, something like this. And you see how it's kind of colored? What we could do is we could actually edit the image, and then we could take all the saturation out of it, right? Like that. And then what we could do, we could take this and run it all the way across like this. And bring that opacity down to like that. And what we could actually do is let's copy this and then we'll delete it just to see, because what we might decide is we like this. That one's actually really cool. This one's actually really cool, and we can throw some other clouds in there like that. You see that? And we can kind of overlap them a little bit. Throw this one opacity down like that. Boom. We're starting to look pretty cool now. It's starting to look like we got something here. It'd be kind of cool to add a moon in here, make it brighter, a lot brighter. Bring the opacity way down. Bring our contrast way down. Bring our opacity back up there. We can actually put this back here. Let's move it back. Yeah, okay, boom. We actually may want to change our opacity on this guy so that we can kind of push this in front of the moon like that. That makes sense. So what we need to do on this guy is we actually need to bring up its brightness. and drop it. Let's actually do this in shadows. Bring the shadows down. And actually, that's looking kind of awesome now, right? So we've got a pretty cool looking thing going on here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna duplicate this. We want to throw our name in there, obviously. And in this case, we can kind of go old school with this. Bring it down a little bit. Make sure it actually fits on one line. And we can say like, oh, it's ZSD Monty's classic horror story playing in the dirt. So we've got a pretty neat looking thing going on here, right? So we need to add the story. This is where it gets a little tricky, but stay with me. I'll show you how to do it. The first thing you gotta do is you gotta add a text box. So we're gonna actually add the smallest text box, add a little bit of body text, right? So it says add a little bit of body text, but we're gonna go a little nuts and we're gonna add like a whole page worth. Now, in order to do that, we're gonna go to our original file. We're gonna go to the file with all of the words in it, and we're gonna copy and we're gonna paste them all over. I'll show you how that works. As you see, it looks insane. In fact, most of the story is off the page and it's somewhere else. But that's okay. Let's make this 32. Okay, that seems a little small for this, so let's bump it up to like 42. And if we bump this up, it looks pretty good. We could even go down a little bit, like 40. And that actually looks like a pretty good reading size. So now let's make sure that it fits pretty well on our page. We don't want our page to be so wide, or we don't want our text to be so wide that it doesn't look good on the page. And if you could see, there's actually guidelines there, and we're gonna go all the way to the guideline. See that? Boom. Now we're in. Okay, so now we've actually got a pretty beautiful looking PDF, sort of. But we're gonna get that fixed, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna find out where our paragraph breaks are, and we're gonna break them up a little bit. And when we do that, we're gonna find out where's a good spot for it to end. And honestly, after that, we're gonna go all the way down, copy, delete. Ah, he deleted it. What are you doing? I know, it's crazy, right? Boom. Let's make sure it's back in order here. Boom. It's looking like a pretty nice page, actually. Not too bad. Now, we don't want it to get too high above the trees, and we're actually gonna wanna set a pretty reasonable standard for the rest of the story. I think that's a great first page. Now we gotta go and make all the other pages. I could just do a blank one like this, but I don't think that's the best way to do it. I think, oh, you know what? You know what we need to do? We need to add a page number. In order to add a page number, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually add a circle. For this story, we want to add a circle, nice blank circle like this. And actually what I want to do is I want to make it white to match my page. And then I'm going to bring it down all the way down here. And we can zoom in for this part to make our lives a little bit easier. And we're gonna put this right here on, where's our center line? Boom, that's our center line. So we got this nice little circle here. It's kind of breaking up the trees, kind of creates a really interesting thing. Now our font here is a blinker, is what it's called. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another, okay, let's change that to blinker. And then we're gonna change this to page 1. Throw the 1 in the middle. Let's center it a little better. So, just like that. Boom, 1 in the middle. Now, what you're gonna wanna do, instead of creating a whole new page, you're gonna want to duplicate this page. The first page, the title page, is going to be a little different because it's really fancy and it's going to look really nice. You want to really step up your game for the title page, but then the rest of the story, you want it to be more focused on the story. They're in the story now. They're in the experience now. So they don't need as much coaxing into coming into the story. So now we can actually change a lot of this because we don't need this huge title up here anymore. But the great thing about all this is we can actually keep this where it is. And the only thing we have to do is change this to page 2, right? What we can do with this is we can actually make this a bunch smaller like this, right? And we can actually put it right up in the middle. Now, once you have the story in there and all the words are in there and everything looks really nice and your pages are really formatted well, you want to add a couple of extra little things in there just to make it look really pro, make it look really nice. Let me show you what I did in the first version of this. In the first version of this story, I put a little bit of information about the story, when it was first published, where it was first published, just some really kind of fun information that people can see about the story and just get to know you a little bit better. Then what we did was we added a author photo so that people can just get to see you and see who you are, and a little bio right here. Now the bio is really important because you want to utilize the bio in a way that people can find you and engage you even further. They can engage you in more of your short stories. So here you'll notice I definitely put my website in there, and you can actually add a link to it so that people, when they're reading the PDF, can click on that and it'll take them to that link. You can also do that with your social media handle as well, which is really cool. Make sure that you put a bio so people know how to find you and get connected with you. Now we have to download the PDF so that we have it in PDF format so that, well, we can upload it to our store. From here you go to share, you go to download, make sure that it's the right format, which is PDF standard. This is good for documents and emailing. We don't need to flatten it, we don't need to include notes, none of that stuff. Make sure all our pages are selected, and then of course we want to download. It'll download pretty quickly. It'll even give you a choice where you want to save it. I always like to save mine with the rest of my stories. After all that, you have this beautiful, amazing PDF of your short story. Now you gotta upload it to your store. And for me, I use Payhip. Payhip is a great platform where you could sell your digital products for free, essentially. They take a 5% transaction fee. If you want to scale it later, you can actually get on one of their paid plans and then you don't have any transaction fees. Of course, you'll still have the ones for PayPal or Stripe, but not very easy to get around those. Now what we want to do is we want to go to our Payhip dashboard. We want to add a new product. We're going to say, you know what? We want a digital product because our short story is a digital product. We're going to upload our file. This is the one we want. This is the file that we want to send to people. This one we'll call Playing in the Dirt 2 because we don't want to get it confused because we already have Playing in the Dirt. I'm going to set this for $1.99. I think that's a pretty fair price for a beautiful PDF short story. Then you go to upload product images. You're going to want to have your cover image for sure, and I like to have the first page in there so that people can see what they're getting into. Once those load up, you can actually choose what order they come in. I always like to put the cover first, then you got the digital PDF. Hey, you can read it on the go, and then you've got this nice first page so that people can see what the first page looks like. They can see what's going on. Here you're going to want to put your description. I actually have my description all written out, so what I'll do is I'll just take this and I will copy it. I will throw it into here. Bam, Control V, paste that. I want to make this one italicized. This one's going to be a header 3. We're going to make this italicized right here. Boom. Enter this. We want this to be in bold. And then we'll pop this down, and then we're looking pretty good. Then we're gonna add it to the short stories collection so that it shows up on the short stories page when we actually have our thing set up. This is an ebook, and yeah, you know what? We do want to automatically have subscribed customers to the mailing list. I've already created my mailing list using MailerLite, but the great thing about Payhip is you can actually integrate them together, which is really cool. Okay, now we're gonna add product, and guess what? That's it. It's done. Check this out. We can click on this, and it'll show us the product page. Here it is, Playing in the Dirt 2. And look, it's got all our information in here properly. Everything looks good. It's got our images. It even shows you the other short stories that we have on here. We're in business. Look, using Canva to make your short stories into beautiful digital products that your readers can buy is actually really easy. And really, you want your short stories to look great. You want your readers to have an incredible experience with your stories. Isn't that why you wrote it in the first place? If you want to see how all of these things come together, you can totally visit my website. Go poke around on my story. You can see how they all shaped up, how they all came together, and you can see that it's a really viable, awesome way for you to earn yourself just a little bit more money. You could do that by visiting zsdmonty.com, or you can click the link in the description below. While you're there, you could actually grab some free fantasy stories. I mean, yeah, duh, hello. Finally, don't get discouraged. You can make your short stories look really, really good. They deserve it, and you deserve to earn some money for all the hard work you put into creating these beautiful stories. And this part of the process isn't all that hard. You could do this.